I hear a lot from young people about their hopes, their dreams, and their fears. For the past 4 years, they've seen the vision of the Biden-Harris regime. That vision is you'll own nothing and be happy. The Democrats say instead of owning a home, you'll rent a 400 square foot studio apartment. Instead of owning a car, you'll rent a scooter using some app. Their vision is this: limit your dreams, give up, aim lower, be content with less.
How did a 31-year-old college dropout become a national hero to millions? Charlie Kirk wasn't just an activist, he was a tool. Billionaires gave him huge amounts of money. He was a key part of Project 2025, a big plan to change the government. He helped cause the riot on January 6th. His death wasn't just a sad thing, it was a chance to get more power. His murder was used to bring people together. They made him a martyr before his body was even cold. Charlie Kirk didn't just fall into politics. He planned his whole entry carefully. He knew that in the news business, being real is a brand, and fighting is a good business. The famous story starts with a cookie protest in high school. This wasn't just a kid complaining. It was a perfect lesson in political acting. A fight against higher cafeteria prices was called government overreach. It was like saying the school cafeteria was being run by a king. Even as a teenager, he knew the main rule: turn small problems into huge cultural fights. He made a little complaint look like a fight for freedom. He wasn't just a student, he was practicing to be a political leader. At 17, he wrote a major article for Breitbart News attacking liberal school books. The reward? He got on Fox Business. His brand was born. Then came the big change in his story. West Point rejected him. This wasn't bad luck. It was great for his message. He wasn't just not good enough. He was, he said, replaced. He claimed he was a sacrifice because the school was forced to hire people based on new diversity rules, DEI. This became the start of his vendetta, his long grudge. He decided the system was rigged against him. He promised to build a new one. One semester of community college was enough. He quit. He wasn't a failure. He was a disruptor, someone who breaks the rules. He stopped studying and started running a business of influence. He had his brand, he had his enemy, he had his vendetta. But to get power, you need money. And Charlie was about to get his first huge check. Kirk's first major backer wasn't a young tech guy. It was Bill Montgomery, a 71-year-old Tea Party veteran. Montgomery gave Kirk the connections he needed. In 2012, they started Turning Point USA. Kirk was the 18-year-old face. Montgomery was the expert who handled the big donors. They got their first money from donors like the Dunns, an initial $50,000. The group's main goal sounded clean and nice. Be smart with money, have free markets, and limit government. But this nice wrapper hid a machine ready for a culture war. The real big change was his choice to support Donald Trump. While the old Republican Party didn't like Trump, Kirk went all in. He saw that Trump was the best way to make money from public anger. Kirk became a regular part of the 2016 campaign. He wasn't just a fan, he was a helper. He worked as a personal aide to Donald Trump Jr. He traveled with him and helped with the news. This was more than just being friends. It was like becoming part of the family. At 23, he was the youngest speaker at the Republican National Convention. His reward was access. He was close to power. Turning Point was no longer just a friend of the Trump team. It was becoming the youth group of the Make America Great Again movement. This was the big merger. Kirk's small political company had joined with the most powerful brand in the world. With that came lots and lots of money. The Trump support was a signal to the richest conservative donors. Kirk was a safe bet. His group became the best place to put money for people who wanted a long-term fight against the current government. The money started flowing like a fast river. The Lindy and Harry Bradley Foundation gave millions. Foster Friess, his first big supporter, kept giving. Doug Deason, a very rich man in Dallas, said Kirk's group was crucial. Ed Uihlein of the Uihlein Company became a huge funder. They weren't just writing checks, they were funding a revolt. By 2024, Turning Point USA was bringing in an amazing $85 million every year. They had raised about $389 million since 2012. This money wasn't just for parties. It was building a huge, powerful political machine. This is where the plan moves from talking to taking power. Enter Project 2025. Led by the Heritage Foundation, this wasn't just a book of ideas. It was a battle plan. A detailed 1,000-page instruction manual on how to take over the government. The plan was to fire many longtime government workers and replace them with people who are loyal to the conservative cause. Its goal: have people and ready-to-sign orders prepared on the first day of a new conservative president. And Turning Point USA, they were an official partner. Kirk's job was now more than just shouting on TV. His group was formally part of the team planning the next government. He was raising the army, young voters. His partners were writing the marching orders, the Project 2025 rules. The money, the movement, the plan, it was all coming together. But this fast rise was not simple. It involved arguments, anger, and direct attacks on the rules of democracy. Losing the 2020 election was a huge threat to the MAGA brand that Kirk had joined. He instantly decided to attack the election results. Kirk became one of the loudest young voices saying the election was rigged. This wasn't just an opinion, it was a way to get people moving. Turning Point Action, the political branch of his group, played a direct role. Kirk tweeted on January 5, 2021, sending 80-plus buses full of patriots to D.C. to fight for this president. Later, it turned out to be 7 buses, carrying only about 350 activists. But these weren't just people sightseeing. They were troops called to Washington for a rally built on a lie that Kirk himself was telling. The funding even came from Julie Fancelli, specifically for the rally to stop the steal. When the rally became a riot, when the Capitol building was broken into, Kirk changed his story. He said this wasn't a real revolt. It didn't represent his true fans. But the proof was everywhere. The names of the people on the buses, the records of who gave money, the tweets. When the government committee asked him to speak about his group's role, Charlie Kirk used the Fifth Amendment. He refused to answer, saying he might say something that would get himself in trouble. The fighter, who built his brand on speaking out, went completely silent when asked under oath. His group's role wasn't small. It was a strategy to cause chaos. January 6th wasn't a mistake. It was the natural result of his business plan. Make people fight, get the base moving, attack the system, even if that meant stopping the peaceful transfer of power. In his final years, Kirk kept needing new fights to keep people listening. Transgender rights became his main focus. He attacked gender ideas and spoke out against inclusive schools. This high level of influence and his willingness to play with fire made powerful enemies, and that eventually led to his own violent end. To his critics, this was dangerous hate speech. To his fans, it was fighting for traditional values. To his business, it was a new, popular product, a new enemy to make money from. And then the day came. September 10th, 2025, Utah Valley University, the first stop on his new tour. Another question and answer time designed to cause a stir. A person walks up to the microphone. They ask Kirk a challenge question about transgender mass shooters. Kirk, on stage. Too many, the questioner argues. 5, and asks for the total number of mass shooters for a fair comparison. Kirk, quickly changing the subject. Are we counting or not counting gang violence? A few seconds later, the gunshot. The killer, Tyler Robinson, made his reason clear. The bullets were reportedly carved with anti-fascist words. The enemy Kirk had spent years defining had appeared and killed him. The model of conflict had turned on its creator. But the organization didn't stop. It sped up. The change began right away. This was not just a murder. It was an assassination. It was not just a tragedy. It was a chance to become a political martyr. Before the police were even done, the story was set. President Trump called Kirk a victim of far-left radicals and their evil ideas. The story of the martyr was launched, and his own family stepped in to lead the charge. Just 8 days after his death, his wife, Erica Kirk, was named the new CEO and chair of Turning Point USA. Her first speech was not just sad, it was a promise. She vowed to make his movement the biggest thing this nation has ever seen. The transfer of power was fast. The brand was safe. The plan to make him a martyr was working. The time after Kirk's death was not about feeling grief. It was about combining power and using the tragedy as a weapon. The martyr story became the new thing to buy into. Major donors reacted instantly. Doug Deason promised to double their donations. Foster Fries's wife gave $1 million right away. Sadness was quickly turned into the most powerful fundraising tool they had ever had. The political sainthood quickly followed. Congress named October 14th a National Day of Remembrance for Charlie Kirk. This gave the movement huge support from the government. And then, the ultimate honor. President Trump, at the White House, gave Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom after his death. Trump's words set the story in stone. Charlie Kirk was a martyr for truth and for freedom. He was murdered for the crime of speaking truth to power. He compared Kirk not just to politicians, but to huge historical figures, from Socrates and St. Peter to Abraham Lincoln to Martin Luther King. The message was clear. Kirk was more than just an activist. He was a figure of historical, almost religious importance. This is the final step of the business plan. He was changed from a controversial fighter into a political saint. His most controversial things, he said, were wiped away or changed. He was now simply a courageous martyr. The group he built, Turning Point, kept going. It became even closer to Project 2025. It joined a new civics education coalition with the Department of Education itself, showing the movement had moved from attacking government to joining it and taking it over. The founder was gone, but the brand was stronger than ever. Making enemies was the way he built his movement. And the final attack on him, his murder, became the greatest thing that helped his cause. Charlie Kirk, the 18-year-old who started a vendetta over a cookie price, became the martyred face of a political machine trying to completely change America. His death wasn't the end of the story. It was the ultimate sad and politically powerful plot twist.